Hello YouTube, I'm going back to you after a little bit with another deck profile. This time it's going to be a Traptrix deck. I took this to the Providence, Rhode Island Regional this past weekend, and I got 32nd place out of 260 players, so not too bad. I had a shot at making top 8, would have had 8th place if I'd have won my last round, but it is what it is. You know, I still did pretty well overall. Would have been just good enough for my invite if I needed it for Nats this year. I already had my invite previously. But the cutoff was top 32 for an invite, so it was at least a decent showing. So I'll get into this list. And I also do have the mat from the 250th YCS. I was there at the beginning of April. Almost topped that event. I played Mathmech for that event. Couldn't post the deck because it was actually my friend's deck, and I was just borrowing everything. I had to give it back to him before I could film the video. But I figured I'd just film this deck instead because it's the next deck that I was really playing. So to start off, 3 Pudica. I've seen some people playing 2 of this. I was playing 2 initially, and then I put the 3rd one in because the games I was losing, I just wasn't drawing enough monsters, and so I wanted to play, because I wanted to play more monsters because it's a good starter still. So 3 Pudica, 3 Myrmelio. Pretty standard for Traptrix. That's one of the better cards. 3 Mantis, again, that's another starter. 2 Dionea. I feel like 1 is definitely not enough of this, and 3 is too many, so 2 is a good number. And then lastly, for the Traptrix monsters, 2 Arachnicampa. I've seen some people playing 3, but I don't really want to ever draw multiples of this, so 2 is fine. So for the Traptrix monsters, next 3 Parallel Exceed. That's one of the best extenders. Like any Traptrix plus this is just really strong. And then for hand traps, 3 Ash and 3 Nib. Nib was actually really bad at the regional. I only resolved it once against Flunder. Weirdly enough, was the only match that I resolved it in. There was multiple other games where I just had like 1 or even 2 Nibirs just dead in my hand because my opponents either were playing into it or like I was just already far enough ahead where it didn't even matter. But like I don't know what I'd probably take out, or I don't know what I put in place of Nib, honestly, but Nib should probably come out of the main deck, maybe move to the side deck. I don't know. But we are going into a new format with the new set coming out, so maybe it'll stay in. I don't know. Anyway, that's it for monsters. Spells, 1 field spell only, and this actually did hurt me by only playing 1 of it because against Runick, I go activate Pudica, effect to search for field spell. He chains a Runick spell and banishes the top 3 cards of my deck, and the 3rd card he banished was my 1 garden, so I couldn't resolve the Pudica, which really was unfortunate. Still won that game, but it became a lot longer than it needed to be because of that. So maybe there should be a second one in the deck, but other than that one time, having 1 was fine. Then I main decked 2 talents. I think this card's just overall really strong. Like going first or second. I mean, and it was really good at the regional. So 2 talents. On to traps. 3 Voltea. This is why the deck is good. This card is single-handedly like your best extender and your best form of follow-up. Like so. For the other trap holes, double floodgate, because this is just the best one. Against Kashtira, it's an auto win. If you resolve this against Kashtira, I only played against 1 Kashtira, but yeah, it just makes that matchup such an auto win. Like if you can resolve this, it's just they can't do anything about it. Then for the other ones, 1 Gravedigger, 1 Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare, 1 Bottomless. I've seen some people playing like the terrifying Trap Hole Nightmare, which I think that card's fine, but I just don't think it was better than any of these. So that's really the rationale. I just didn't want to play any more than 5 of the regular hole traps. I've seen some lists play 2 Gravedigger, but just so that they can never get hit with Nibiru if you happen to draw the 1. But like I don't know. I did get hit with Nib once because I got greedy and didn't play around it, but I think this was fine for the most part. No, bottomless would get sided out a lot, but in theory, like I resolved bottomless a couple times. It wasn't horrible. So that's it for the trap hole traps, and then for the other traps, we just got 3 imperm, 3 evenly. These are like the best cards in this deck because they let you go second, and they're also traps, so you can just discard them for the whole Tea on to go first. And then the 40th card in the deck was 1 Torrential Tribute. I think I only resolved it once all tournament, but it wasn't bad. I don't know. It got sided out a lot, so I don't know if I keep it in. It might get cut for the second garden, but I don't know about that yet. But it was fine. It was the 40th card in the deck. It's just another trap, just so you are more likely to see a trap to discard off the whole Tea turn 1. So that's it for the main deck. Onto the extra deck. We've got 3 copies of Sarah. You have to play 3 of it. Like, there were many times where I needed all 3. So, triple. Almirage, it came up once where I had a normal summon an Ash and had a parallel to make a play. So that was, like, fine. But some builds don't play this, but I feel like there's just awkward hands where you only have Ash and, like, Ash and parallel. And, like, playing this is the only way you can play. Maybe it'll get cut, but it did come up once, so we'll see. Adipus, this card was good. Maybe like 2 or 3 times. Maybe 3 times. So it was pretty good. And then the last link was Boral Sword. Most people weren't really expecting this, and I actually won a lot of games just because I had this card, because people were not expecting me to be able to put enough damage on board to actually 1 turn kill with this deck, or on turn 3 kill. But you put up so many bodies with the Sarah summoning on your opponent's turn and on your own turn that you can always go into this, and as long as you have one of the XYZs on the board, if you have the Alameris or the Ping on board plus this, it's just game. So Boral Sword was really good. People weren't expecting it, so probably would not ever cut that card. For the XYZs, I probably might change some of these around because a couple things didn't wind up being used. But starting off, 1 ping. This is just the searcher. Gets you follow up, gets you extender. And its other effect can come up too against other matchups. At a local last week against Branded. This effect really came in handy to attach the monster as a material to it against Branded, because my opponent used Branded in red and banished his the ad-lib and tried to summon back the Mirror Jade, and then that got banished off of the Branded red, and so I used this to get the Mirror Jade attached to it as material, and that was just really strong. Didn't have any situations like that at the regional come up with this, but this card's still really good. Next, Rafflesia, only 1 of it. Never needed the second one. 1 was fine. Alameris, this card was really good too. Just being able to summon back a Murmillo to pop something, or a Diana to set another trap hole, or just really any of those options are really strong. So Redoer, it's the best card in this deck because you can make it with Holtea. You always have a trap live, so you just have a non-targeting spin back a card, which is really broken, and it's really hard for them to get rid of it. It's get summoned every game pretty much. Next, Exaton. Didn't actually summon Exaton yesterday, but the threat of it being there, still really good. Just to be able to clear board. Zeus, did resolve Zeus a couple times. There was 1 time where I also misplayed really bad because I played into an Effect Veiler with this when I just should have not done that, but got a bit greedy there, but Zeus was good. Baguska made it once, funnily enough, just to be summoned in attack mode so that it couldn't be destroyed, because it was against Live Twin Spright, and he had the Live Twin one that destroys a card set up. So I summoned this and then go attack with it and then make a Zeus. But then that was the game I played into Effect Veiler, so it didn't even really matter, but it came up once. Tornado Dragon, I've not really seen a lot of people playing this, but I feel like there were situations where I wanted this. I played against Labrynth, didn't actually wind up summoning it in that matchup, but in theory, for or a potential mirror match, for instance, didn't play against a mirror, but or against like Runick, being able to like pop the fountain was really big. I summoned it twice, I think. Card was good. And last card was Cowboy. Didn't come up actually. There was a couple games where like my rounds went to time or pretty close to time, but there was no situation where I could have like made the Cowboy where it would have won me the game in time. So this might get cut for an Asa or the Traptrix Link 2, because I originally had the Traptrix Link 2 in there and I took that out for this. Might take this out for Asa, because that would have come up. There was one game where that definitely would have come up, but either way, extra deck was mostly fine. Side deck, Triple D Barrier, really against like everything in the format, the cash, branded especially, but just has a lot of matchups. This is a pretty good card. Plus, it's also a normal trap, so even if you like, if you have to, you can discard it off Holtea. So, just a good card. 3 Grave of the Super Ancient Organism. This card was the best card for me at YCS LA. This card won me so many games there, but at the regional, it didn't really put in that much work. I only played against 1 cash and didn't play against branded, so there wasn't really any other matchups that this came in against. But I mean, in theory, this card's really good if it resolves like against branded or Kashtira. It's just like an auto win against those matchups. 3 Solemn Judgment for going first and getting evenly. I did hit 1 evenly with this, so that did save me a game. 3 Kaijus, 1 Gamma Seal, 2 Kumungus. I only have 1 Gamma Seal, so probably would be more of this ratio, but this was fine. I mean, there were, like, I didn't draw these too often. I drew, funnily enough, there was one time where I drew the Gamma Seal, and my opponent had summoned his own Gamma Seal to his own field after summoning another Gamma Seal to my field. So I linked off his Gamma Seal with other monsters on my board, made Borosword, special summoned my own Gamma Seal, and killed him with just those. So I think that was the only time I actually summoned Gamma Seal, but I think I used Kumungus to out something once. I forgot what it was, but yeah, Kaijus are good in theory. 2 Drolls. This was really good against the Runick player. Like there was one time where I just dropped this on a Runick player and ended his turn, so card was good. And the last card was Duster. I think I only drew this card once, and it didn't wind up doing that much, but it was still, in theory, good to have. So that's the side deck. Now the matchups. Round 1, I played against Kashtira, actually my friend who I rode with, that I had to play against him round 1, which was a bit unfortunate. But I did beat him 2-0. I think it was 2-0. But either way, I did end up winning that. Round 2 was against Labrynth, and that was a draw because game 1 lasted 30 minutes, and it was just really difficult for me to out the Lady Labrynth, and it just eventually I got there, but it took far too long, and it was a kind of complicated game state, and it took me a little bit of a while to think through what I was going to do to out it. Eventually got there, but 30 minutes for game 1 meant that game 2 I was rushing through my plays game 2 to try to come back to deal enough damage because he was up on life, up by 3,000, and I had to figure out a way to deal 3,000 damage, and I just couldn't do it. So round 2 was a draw. Round 3 was against Sky Striker, and that was the match where I won with Borosword, with the Borosword and Kaiju. But that went to game 3. Yeah, I think I lost game 1 of that matchup. But then games 2 and 3, I came back. And then round 4 was against Live Twin Spright, and I drew again. So this is my second draw of the day. So I knew that if I wanted to have a chance of actually topping, I knew I needed to win out after that. It was just an unfortunate situation because game 3, game 1 again was a long game, which I lost because I messed up with the Zeus playing into Valor. I would have had game 1 if not for that. And then game 2, I got game 2, but then game 3 started with only like 4 minutes left on the clock, and he didn't deal damage because I had Ash for his gigantic Spright, so he couldn't get to Red Resonator, so he couldn't gain life or deal damage to me. But he did have the Live Twin spell card, which says deal 200 damage and gain 200 life every time the opponent summons. So I couldn't summon anything. So it was just, there was no way to get the Cowboy. So it was just a draw. There was no way I could have done anything. Round 5, I played against a Runick Mathmech. I'd never seen that deck before. It seemed like a weird combination because Mathmech and Runick, Mathmech wants its battle phase, but then with Runick cards you don't have a battle phase, so it seems weird. Won that one 2-1. Round 6 was a Naturia Runick, won again 2-1. Round 7 was Floowandereeze. I won that 2-1. And round 8 was against Live Twin Spright, and I got 2-0'd. There was absolutely nothing I could have done. He had a really important Ash for my Sarah game 2, and game 1 he just had answers to like he won the roll and started out strong. I just couldn't push through everything. Like there was just no way. So that was it for the tournament. It was a good event overall. I mean, I'm a little bit disappointed because I still don't have a regional top 8. I've been playing the game a long time, over 12 years now, and still don't have a regional top 8. So maybe one day. But that's about it for the video. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.